But here's what we're into. Combine's rolling, so harvesting season has officially begun. It's my favorite time of year personally. I like all the activity, the planning, the thinking of what to do and how to do and how to get it done as quickly as possible. So today is our first day out. We've done maybe, let's see, where's that at on here? We've done about 7 acres so far. The only problem with this job is this field that we're in here. You get a look at it kind of there standing. It's hard to tell, I know, through the camera, but we've had better corn. Nothing wrong with the seed, but it was just the weather conditions. This is some of our early planted corn. This is on some of our upland ground versus our bottomland ground. It's just a little drier by nature, and when this corn needed the water, it didn't get it, and it was severely curled up. Those leaves were curled. It just didn't do right. I'm surprised that it's doing what it's doing right now. Currently, I'm getting in there around like 160 to 180. So, you know, hey, can't complain too much about that for drought-stricken corn. I know back over on the other side of the field where there was a little ridge, it's down in the 50 to 60 range. That's not ever a good situation when you're that level. So 150 to 160, even those 180s that you see occasionally, hey, I'm satisfied with that for what we thought we were going to have. We did some initial yield checks just by counting, and we were coming up with roughly 130, so pretty close. So I'm going to have to turn around here at the end. I'll explain something that I've run into here when I get turned around that I've learned. Like I said, sometimes I think in some of these videos I'm still kind of new to this and don't know a lot of the little secrets and tricks that maybe some other folks might. Let me get set in here and then I'll attempt to tell you what I'm thinking about. I think this is, yeah, the right road. That is one tricky thing in corn. You've got so many rows that you're harvesting, and if you're laying off fields in blocks like I traditionally do, if you miscount that row, you end up with the row of shame, that one big long row that's sitting over there that, like for instance, this is a 6-row head, and if you get done with this block or whatever and you got 7 rows left, and you just feel like a complete idiot. But what I was gonna say, the reason that I haven't really been filming much yet is on the first day out, it's always a lot of setting this and moving this and checking this and those sort of things. So we think we've got it kind of dialed in pretty decent to where we like it. But one problem I'm running into is, I know you guys can't see the camera mount that I'm holding here in my hand. It's magnetic on the end down here. But with these new modern style cabs, there's no metal in here to set you guys on. So I'm gonna have to do some engineering, figure out where I can put you guys over here or up here in front of me, or whatever the case may be, so I can talk to you and drive the combine. Because it's kind of hard to do with just one hand, because you have the lever here that goes forward and it's got all your head controls, and then of course you have your steering wheel. And generally it's a two-handed operation, so I'm kind of doing it on the fly here a little bit and hoping that this comes out okay. But I am going to have to rig up something in here to mount you guys on. So there's about 14 acres or so in this field. We're going to try to get this knocked out. Luckily for us, the grain bin that we're putting it in is literally, almost can see it from here, so it's really short haul. So Jacob is here with me today. He's got our grain truck buzzing back and forth, and he calls me on the radio and says, hey, where do you want me to go to unload, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to get this going here. Currently here in this spot, I'm approaching 200 bushel corn, which if that's accurate, I would be just completely blown away with. But the yield monitor has not been calibrated this year. So we're basically using that as an estimation at this point, just because the first day out, we want to get other things set up besides the yield monitor. So we're coming up here on the end of the field again. I'm trying to turn around. And let's see here. One convenient thing that this combine has in it, or on it, I guess I should say, a function it has on it that our other combine does not. It has a return to cut feature over here on one of these knobs, and basically what that does is I pull up here to the end of the row. I can just click one little button and the head goes right back down to the same level that I needed it to get below the ear. Because that's another thing about this corn with the drought and the drought that we had. The ear this year seems a little closer to the ground than normal, mainly due to the fact that the corn just didn't get very tall. You can look out that window there. Most of the time, corn stalks, when you're harvesting, they'll be more up middle ways of your window. These are way down there. So that return to cut feature is pretty convenient. There's a few times you have to override it, but our other combine does not have that feature on the corn head. Now they do have it on the soybean heads, but that's actually a feature of the head, not the combine itself. So that's pretty convenient on this combine. But for now, we're just going to keep going back and forth here. I've got these blocks laid off. I count so many rows over and go back, so I don't have to try to turn right around. And hopefully I don't end up with a row of shame. So what we're heading to now is to go up to the field where Dad's been running the soybeans. And he's had the grain cart parked there. Get this traffic out of the way. He's had the grain cart parked there, and he's basically using that as like a temporary portable grain bin, filling it up. And he called me a few minutes ago. He said, hey, my grain cart's full, so got to go alleviate some of that process and put it in that bin. So we'll head that way. We'll be there in a few minutes. I'll check back with you. We'll see how the beans look. Well, here we are in the bean field. You can see over there the combine running, and looks pretty good actually. Not sure what the moisture is just yet, but he's about got a full tank. So instead of me getting off the grain cart like I was telling you guys, we might just go ahead and empty him off, because he only lacks about an acre back here in the back. And that way you don't have to drive across the field here. So just waiting for him to get back down to this end and get turned around so I can get my wagon under his auger, and then we'll be headed back to the grain bin. So these look really good. What these are actually is a non-GMO soybean, which is basically a food grade in a sense. You can't apply Roundup to them. I don't know if I might have talked about these in a video previously. I can't really remember for sure. But there are certain kind of chemicals that you can apply and certain kinds you can't apply. You do get a little bit of a premium for growing them just because they are a little more trouble. And when I was in the process of setting the auger back at the bin that I showed you guys, you have to keep everything just so perfectly clean because of contamination issues. So they're a little more trouble, but you get a little extra premium for them. So he's about to the end there now, and we will go over here and see if we can get in position for an unload. Not exactly sure which way he's gonna turn here. And let's see, looks like he's gonna go that way. All right. One thing about the wagon or grain cart operator, you have to be able to read minds, and the mind of the guy in the combine is the mind you have to read. So we're gonna swing around here, pull underneath, and get us a load of soybeans. Don't know if you're going to be able to see that right into the sun. It's probably pretty bright for you guys. Might be able to get us a little bit of a look at it. I don't know how well the camera reacts to extraordinarily bright sunshine. But we'll probably stop over at the grain cart and get a little bit more off of it while we got the wagon here, because this hopper won't nowhere near fill that wagon. And we want to make our trips worthwhile. So that's what we're probably going to do. He only lacks maybe 5 more rounds, and he'll be done with that part. So maybe you can see through that dirty window. I think we're going to have us a window cleaning party around here, because there's a lot of this looking out the back window stuff while you're harvesting, and it's not on the inside because it's very dusty out there. So I feel like there's going to be some pressure washing and some Windex involved shortly. But we're getting her filled up here. When we get back to the bin and get unloading, we'll take a good look at them and we'll see what they look like. Kind of see what there's a lot of variation in soybeans. Around here, maybe you can hear me. I'll try to show you if I don't blind you in the sun. Here's what we're looking at. You can see, for instance, like that one big fat one by my thumb. He might not have quite been ready yet, but the vast majority of them are pretty close. I think Dad said the moisture reading's around 14 or so. Throw these back in here. Yeah, this is about the setup. I don't know if you can hear me, hopefully you can. They just come out of the wagon, go into there, all the way up that, head over into the bin. And we'll walk over here while this is unloading. Let you get a look at this. Fairly sure that you can hear that sound there. There's a distributor, which is basically a big fancy electric motor with a paddle on it, all the way up at the very top up there. It spins around and flings the beans as they go in. Tries to level them a little bit, but basically what the main thing it's doing is getting the little fine particles scattered out through the bin. And getting a call on the radio, but I'm never going to be able to hear it down here. You can see up there, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the fan of the bin is on. It's also blowing the dust stuff out. So that's basically the setup here. A lot going on. I'm sure it's kind of loud. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Basically that's the concept of what goes on here. This bin here will hold about 5,000 or 5,200 or so bushels. So first one's going in today, so it's going to be a little while before it's full. We'll have to move the auger several times. Well, we just got it wrapped up. We got about 11 or so acres here in these two little fields. Kind of a Well, I don't exactly know the average yield. Probably around 140, 150, maybe something like that. But while I was finishing up there, obviously I'm here, so I can't be in two places at once. But there's the first field that we took some video in up on the ridge. We left, I believe it was 8 rows in that field, and what we're going to have done, there's a neighbor here, local guy, that's got a corn picker. A lot of people maybe get those confused with corn picker and a combine. That's a completely different machine. This machine here actually takes the corn in and shells off the grain and puts it in the tank. The corn picker actually takes the ear off. And while I was here busy with this, Dad went up to check on that situation, and he took some video on his phone, so that was pretty cool. He did send it to me, so I will try to see if I can put that in the next video along with some of this footage, and maybe explain a little bit about what's going on and what you're seeing happen there. So it's pretty neat, something that you don't see a lot of anymore these days, with combines have kind of taken over. But we have a use for that ear corn. In the winter time, we creep feed our calves off of our cows, and we mix our own sweet feed mix for those calves, and we really like to have ear corn to put in that mix. We don't own a picker, a corn picker, and so if we want ear corn, we've done it before, leave a little triangle in the corner of the field and go pick it all off by hand. Oh yeah, that's quite a bit of work. So this guy was good enough, and he does it for another neighbor of ours, friend of ours, and so he came by and did that, and not exactly sure how much they got off of that, but after we get this head on the cart here that's in front of me, and we get back down the road, I may see if I can find that, what they've got done, and we can get a little better look at it.